The Los Angeles Lakers made a big-time decision in that organization yesterday. It wasn't just the fact that they went out and acquired Dennis Schroeder, to me, a six-man candidate of the year over the last couple years in OKC. He's now expected to be the starting point guard for the Lakers. To me, what I think more people should be talking about is the Lakers' decision to move on from Danny Green. I mean, Danny Green was a guy that many expected could end up finishing his career in Los Angeles, a shooter, playing alongside LeBron James. A lot of people thought LeBron loved Danny as a teammate. Well, we saw last year for multiple reasons. And again, to the casual fan, I'm sure they're like, yo, I didn't expect Danny Green to get moved, to be the first move that happens in this short offseason. But for me personally, I kind of saw this one coming for a multitude of reasons. Number one, Danny Green, he's one of the only guys that was under contract for the Lakers going into this season. A lot of guys got player options, right? The Lakers are non-committal to Kyle Kuzma. Kuzma can go out and get $50, $60 million on the open market. He's in the last year of his deal. He's looking to re-up. If the Lakers are not 100% sold on paying Kyle Kuzma, then you want to attach a contract with it so you can go out and bring in a guy that's a pretty good player already making money. So I knew if the Lakers were considering moving Kyle Kuzma, that Danny Green would be attached to that name. But again, Danny didn't get traded with Kyle Kuzma. Here's another reason why, though, I knew the Lakers would consider moving on from Danny Green. If you watch the Lakers games, especially in the bubble last year, I did not miss one Laker game last year, not one. Danny got a noticeable limp, and over the last few years, it's getting worse. And I don't know, if that's just the way he walks or runs, but I didn't see that limp in his earlier years in San Antonio. Speaking of San Antonio, Danny Green historically has been he could be one of the greatest three-point shooters of all time and also be one of the worst three-point shooters of all time. He goes through historically good and bad stretches. Just to give you a quick example, in 13, he arguably was the reason why the Heat won the finals. In 14, he arguably was the reason why the Spurs won the finals. So, I mean, he goes through, just stretches where you can look at him and be like, yo, I don't even know who this guy is. He doesn't even look like a guy that can knock down a three over 40% a clip throughout his career. Also, Danny Green has a podcast. What I was telling my viewers yesterday is it's not the fact that Danny Green has a podcast. I think all players should speak and use their voice and brand themselves and market themselves. I'm not mad at that. What I think Danny Green did was he put his foot in his mouth a couple times on that podcast. I watched a couple episodes, and every time I watch it, as just looking at it as a fan, it's like, yo, this guy seems very unhappy with playing basketball at a professional level. I mean, there were a couple times last season when Danny Green attacked fans. I'm a longtime Laker fan, and I remember when he got upset at Laker fans for calling him out for missing. I think it was after a bad game in the bubble. And, Laker fans were like, yo, we want to trade this guy. The memes and all that on social media, which people do that all the time. And the Danny Green came out the next day and was like, yo, if you're mad at me after a couple bad games, you ain't a real Laker fan. Well, I was looking around like, yo, Danny, first off, these fans pay money to see you. They're taking their time out to watch you on TV right now. All right, Danny, let's realize who you are and who you're not. All right, these fans have a right to complain about you missing. And it wasn't just a couple games. Danny Green's season had been pretty up and down for the Lakers all year. His first one in Los Angeles. And then also, we get to the finals, right? Danny Green, he was really bad. And he ended up missing that three-pointer that could have sealed the deal for the Lakers. What was that, game 5-ish? And after that game, a lot of people were attacking Danny Green. Now, I didn't go as far as to do that, and I never do that. I thought the fans took it too far with it. I think he got death threats to him and his wife. That's too far. I'm with you there. But, again, after that, Danny Green kind of just like, yo, if you're a Laker fan, you got to, are you a real Laker fan or not? And I'm kind of like, yo, you don't got the sweat equity to be questioning real Laker fans. We've been here before you, and we'll be here after you. You ain't even won nothing yet. How you going to just go in on Laker fans like that? You ain't even submitted yourself as one of our staples, as a role player in Lakers history. And, I think those things rubbed that Lakers organization the wrong way. And the last straw for me was when Danny came out on his podcast, coincidentally, a couple weeks ago, and he came out and said, if the season starts in around Christmas, which it is, right? This is when the NBA, they were negotiating here. He said if the season started around that time, he believed that guys would be sitting out. Not only did he say he had plans on sitting out, he said he believed LeBron would be sitting out. Now, Danny, it's one thing for you to say that you're not going to be playing, but when you start making references of the face of the league sitting out, meaning if LeBron don't play, the league, with these owners and executives losing a lot of money, you couldn't have thought that was going to go over well with the Lakers organization, who they're not going to even have fans to start the season coming off a championship. They're going to be losing a lot of money in Staples Center as that bad boy just sits up and collects dust. You thought that would go over well with you coming out and saying you think LeBron's not going to play to start the season next year? You couldn't have thought that was going to go over well. And if LeBron didn't say that, who are you to speak for that man? If LeBron wants to come out and say that, he's the face of the league. He's a 4-time champion. He's one of the greatest ever. He's earned that right. Danny, I know you're coming off back-to-back championships. You have not earned that right to speak for that man. And I thought that was the final straw for Rob Pelinka and company, and I knew it was just a matter of time. Like I said, I thought it would happen at the trade deadline in March, but I'm not surprised that the Lakers moved on from Danny Green. And now, hey, Danny, it looks like the OKC Thunder, who now technically will have his rights, it looks like they're going to look to release Danny Green and allow him to go sign elsewhere. And I'm pretty confident that Danny will get a job somewhere. When his mind's right, he can still knock down the three ball with the best of them. I'm sure the Clippers will give him a run, and he could probably fit in well with that team if they got the space, the roster space. It'll be at the bare minimum because the Thunder and Green are going to likely agree to a buyout. We'll see what happens with Danny, but I'm sure he was shocked. But me, I'm not. Because, Danny, if you go watch some of your episodes back, it's not that surprising why a team considered, or a team of the Lakers' magnitude, they're in full go mode. You can understand why they don't want to hear you speaking negatively on the fans, on the Laker fans, on LeBron playing next year. You got to kind of watch what you say, man, because we're in 2020. People are watching at all times, including people that control your destiny.